My initial impression of the Brooks Glycerin Flex was that it was a runnable relic of the past. It works, and what they're doing innovatively in it also works, but that it was a little boring and old school. Does that still hold up today?
Fixing on the
So far, I'm getting a bit of lateral soreness on my left foot along the bottom, leading through the pinky toe all the way up through the lateral arch. And I just feel sore. Nothing injurious, I don't think. And it feels harder to run at my normal paces. Not a great start. I remember the first time I ran in this, I told you all that it has a surprisingly nice bounce. Yeah, I am not getting that today. I'm not feeling any bounce, in fact. It's just dull and lifeless and a bit harder to run in, but it is comfortable, like very comfortable. And I do think that I could run in this somewhat indefinitely, but the pace would be slower. It's almost like the same thing going on with the Mag Max 2. There's like a speed limiter on this. It just does not want me to pick up the pace at all. And at first I also thought that this might be a really nice track day shoe because of how flexible it is. And maybe if I went to the track and knew I was going to be going really fast, maybe it would be okay for a track day shoe, but today it does not inspire speed. You'd have to really be planning on doing speed. Another thing I'm noticing is that the laces are definitely loosening up over the course of the run. My shoes are not as tight as they were when I started. To the credit of the Flex, this is a very rhythmic shoe. I've been steadily running along at a not unreasonable pace, calmly, just in my little groove here. So it's not all bad. Been really locked into a rhythm for a bit, and the thing I've been thinking about this whole time has been how to structure a running schedule that can accommodate 100+ mile weeks. So I've been doing 6 days on, Mondays off. At the peak of the last build, it looked like Tuesday double, Wednesday recovery, but still long, Thursday, Friday double, Saturday run club, generally fairly long, and Sunday was obviously the long run. And at the peak of the block, for about a month, I was able to hold over 100. And it was pretty dialed in. but I moved my double to Wednesday so that I could go to the farmer's market when it pops back up again in spring on Tuesdays. So I'm currently Tuesday single, Wednesday double, Thursday, Friday single, Saturday, because it's been so cold, I have not been going to run club, and I've been doing a double, but shorter double, into the long run on Sunday. So now I'm trying to think, if I want to increase past 90, the only realistic way to do that is to add at least one more session. I could add it to Monday and have a 7-day week, which I'm nervous about just because I've never run every day. But for the shape that I'm in, I don't know how much of an obstacle that would be. And then the double structure would be hard because Tuesday single, Wednesday double, I typically want a bit of a recovery day on Thursday because I'm pretty trashed after my double. So then Thursday single would have to stay Friday, Saturday double, and then Sunday long run, which that's aggressive because it's just a lot of backloading the week. Be good training stimulus though, that's for sure. Running a long run on tired legs, really tired legs. 12 miles, 8:40 pace. That went a lot better than it was looking like it would at the very beginning of the run. I was just not at first getting along with these shoes, and I still think that that's actually not an accurate statement. I was just feeling a little annoyed by the lack of energy return and by the just kind of not understanding what the point is of these because they feel like they make it harder to run. But again, that is the point. And so as the run went on, it got more and more comfortable to actually run in these. And there's some dogs up there. Hi, babies! I know! Hi! Yeah, and I'm all distracted now. Dog distractions. Yeah, I think that really, this isn't gonna blow anybody's minds. It's not gonna impress anybody. It shouldn't cost $170. That's an insane, truly bananas insane, bizarre price decision for this shoe, because it's just not worth that much money. But the remainder of the run did go really well, and I did zone out a bit and was able to just, vibe with the run and just sort of be in my own space and run my own run at a slower pace than I typically would, but it felt comfortable. There was really just nothing wrong, and it felt like the way that the flex grooves pushed me into the run, directed my foot strike, it felt like I was following a line or a predetermined path that felt pretty optimized to the shoe, and it wasn't challenging to find that rhythm. And I think that rhythm is part of what locked me into the rhythm of the run in the second half of the run, right? But before I found that rhythm, it just sort of didn't make any sense to me. So there's a lot more thoughts that I want to share, and we'll share that. Back to the studio.
And we're back with the Brooks Glycerin Flex. And that was a run that started out, as you might have seen, a little bit frustratedly, a little negatively, in that I was feeling very little assistiveness from the foam. I was feeling like I had to work a little bit harder to achieve the paces that I'm accustomed to, and overall was having a meh experience with it. Over the course of the run, I sort of sank into this rhythm with the Flex, and it was a really pleasant run. Now, I already gave a lot of thoughts on this that were, broadly speaking, a little negative. It's not that the shoe isn't good. In fact, it feels pretty premium when you hold it in hand. The materials, the upper, all feel very nice and well considered, aside from the laces, which do loosen over the course of a run, and I think that's like somewhat inexcusable in 2026, but overall it wasn't like it loosened all the way. It just loosened a little bit and had a little bit of play over time throughout the run. So what I do think is a big disappointment for me is the midsole foam. It's like the first run that I had in this, I was getting initially some bounce out of it that I wasn't expecting. Don't know where I was getting that from. I didn't get that today. And in fact, I took this to Run Club a few weeks ago and really couldn't say that I had any bounce in it then either. And so it's getting to the point with this where it's like, well, the foam isn't very good. I know that that's not necessarily a popular opinion about DNA tuned. And from what I can understand, people have sort of opposing views on it. Some people do seem to like DNA tuned. I think it feels like a dead EVA. I don't think it feels very like bouncy or propulsive. And probably that's exacerbated by the fact that this is such a flexible, bendy shoe, and that creates a more effortful stride, which you would think like the benefit of that is that you get to, grow and develop some muscles that you normally wouldn't be developing in more rigid, more heavily rockered shoes. But when you're accustomed to that type of shoe, when you're running in that type of shoe regularly, which is most of the shoes on the market, it is a little bit of a transition sensation-wise. That doesn't mean that the shoe shouldn't exist. It's more like it was definitely something to get used to for me. Where I struggle still with this concept is it's a few things that all add up into, I don't know who this shoe is for. I don't know who would buy this, who should buy it, why they would want to buy it, and let me walk through it one step at a time. First of all, the price is $170. That is not what you're getting here. This is not worth $170. It's barely worth $100, in my opinion. It is not good enough in any way to justify that price. Yes, it has a premium feeling upper. Sure, it's nice to the touch. It feels like a well-considered product, but the way that it runs is not $170 worth of running experience, right? So that's number one. Number two is it's not high stack, but it's moderate stack. I think it was 3630, and that's all fine, but that's not going to satisfy any of the max stack aficionados, the super hype new foam people either, right? Because it has a relatively bland foam. So the gimmick of, or the feature of the flexibility is a new sensation, but since the foam is so mid, then it's not going to exactly recommend itself to the category of people that likes trying new things either. So you don't have your, shoe sickos that want to try a new thing. You don't have your low stack minimalists. You don't have your budget shoe people, right? Like there's nobody for whom I would really feel good about recommending this to, because it's also not low stack either. So if this was lower, maybe you could get some of the overlap from the speed day people and the minimalists combined, right? That's just not the case. It's too big for that. And also it's too heavy for that. And while it doesn't feel particularly heavy on foot, I'm sure that sensation is contributing, or that the weight is contributing to the sensation that I'm getting of not being able to run very quickly in this. Like, I don't feel like I could hit the paces that I normally hit in this, and that's probably muscular weakness on my part, and I could own that, but it's like, to feel so, that it's such a high effort to run in this shoe, it would make it really hard for me to reach for this in any situation, right? I don't know what this is. I still don't know what this is for. And I don't know why it wouldn't be simply easier to go get a pair of Ultra Escalantes, which would be more flexible than this. It would be lower to the ground, but like it would accomplish the goal of being more flexible than this better than this does. Right, and I'm not saying that this performs poorly. One thing that I am impressed about is how neutral it's able to keep the foot through your stride, or like through my stride. I feel like I'm running with pretty good form in this shoe, and I feel like it almost guides me through that form because of the way it flexes. So it does do something to provide a natural, foot strike and form. But is that enough? Is that enough to justify its existence? And like, that's only for people that are watching this to evaluate. For me, this is a disappointment. I was excited about it to begin with, and I'm left with a shoe that feels dead and makes it harder to run, that I could use realistically for, group runs, so that I'm getting some level of passive additional muscular stimulus. Like, that's the only use case that I could really see myself taking this out for in the future. It's group runs, right? Where I don't really want to think about what I'm putting on my feet. I know that I'll be able to get a good fit in it, and it'll just be moderately comfortable for the duration of a slower run. Yeah, that doesn't recommend it to me, or to, I feel like, many people. And I really wish I could say something better about this. What I can say is that it is great to see Brooks, a historically conservative shoe company, making something that's a little out there. And I think they executed on it okay. And I think that if there was a different foam in this, we'd be having a different conversation. And if it were lower stack, because really, like, the market for this is the minimalist who wants to try a more traditional running shoe, or the traditionalist who wants something a little different. And I guess for those people, that it does do it, but it's not exciting enough to really keep the people that wanted to try that thing. I like the idea of minimalist concepts trickling into more modern, more aggressive geometry shoes, or more super foam shoes. I like, one of the big wish list items that I have is a shoe that's like 30 at most in the heel with a very low drop, so like a 30-26 with a super foam. That I think would be a really good shoe, and a nice rocker geometry, right? So why not do that with the flex grooves, right? And offer this in a package that might be exciting to somebody, where the foam just, maybe the foam feels good to some people. Maybe DNA Tune does feel good to some people. It just is, it's not it for me. It is not even close to a good foam for me. It doesn't feel like anything. It feels like I'm running on just regular EVA. And that's not what you want to hear, of course. But yeah, I don't know. This isn't a total dud either. It's not like an unrunnable shoe. I could run in this for however long. I got into a really great rhythm with it today. It's a little confusing what this is supposed to be and what I'm supposed to use it for. And whenever that crops up, it's like, all right, I guess I just won't use it then for much. But I think that I will probably get maybe 1 or 2 more runs on this before calling it quits, because the way the run started today was not the way the run ended. It was a lot better in the second half of the run, and I was able to tune out the world a bit, which is really nice whenever that happens on a run for me. Just getting in the zone. And I got in the zone with this shoe. I think that the zone was somewhere in the 8:30 to 9 minute per mile pace, which is relatively slow. I think if I were in any other shoe today, I would be probably much quicker than that. And it wasn't like I was fighting the shoe. I was listening to the shoe and what it told me. And it was just telling me to just go slow. Not exactly what I like in a shoe, but that doesn't mean you wouldn't like it in a shoe. If you fit the description of somebody that needs maybe an easy day shoe that's pretty firm, but also has a unique midsole experience, even though it maybe isn't the best midsole experience, it certainly is. It has a quality to it that other shoes don't, right? But that doesn't mean it's a particularly good quality. I don't know. I feel really bad because, when Brooks is such a conservative company and they take a step outside that ethos to create something that, I mean, it's not exactly innovative because Nike did this with the free run a long time ago, but this is outside of Brooks, normal shoes. And they did have the Aurora BL, which is like the spiritual predecessor to this. So it's not exactly outside of Brooks' wheelhouse either, but it's definitely different. It's not brand new as an idea. It's Brooks trying something sort of new, which is more than they generally do. And so that's great, and I commend them for that. And I just feel bad that it didn't work. As a concept, it does not work. And so, yeah, sorry for the complete slaughter fest of a video. I didn't mean to make it this harsh. I do think the redeeming qualities that you do get to lock into a pace once you find it, and it is very comfortable, and the upper does feel very premium. So I'll leave it on a positive, and I appreciate all of your attention. And for now, stay in motion.